I think we lose our strength and we lose our motivation and our inspiration. We lose the drive, you might say, all of the above, when we lose sight of the product.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast, Chiropractic's #1 business podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And we are coming in hot. We are coming in hot. We are still flying high after a phenomenal live event, our Remarkable Conversion Retention Immersion in Nashville, Tennessee, Dr. Pete's now hometown. Bro, that was off the charts. It was our biggest and best event ever. I know we say that every time because every time it's true, right? That's objectively biggest event ever. We brought 700 people to Nashville, which was just amazing. Our incredible clients, their full teams, our success partners, our awesome, remarkable team, man. We filled up that room, man, and that hotel was buzzing. And that's a big hotel to buzz. So it was so great to be in your hometown, man. You're always such a gracious host. I love going to Nashville. Man, the spirit was moving that room, man. It was on fire. And it's been awesome all week. We've had a mastermind this week coming off of it to get the feedback, the takeaways, the wins and learns, to hearing from, getting an opportunity. I spoke to about 100 chiropractors, our coaching clients, that I get the privilege of coaching this week. And I'm always kicking off our masterminds with, what was your win? What was your takeaway? What was your team's takeaway? And man, we crushed it, buddy. And I just want to recognize you, man. You just kicked it off so strong. As always, I just sit back and I kind of lose myself whenever you're speaking up on the stage. I'm like looking around the room. I'm like, do they know how good this is? Do they know how good this is? This is pure gold, man. So, man, you're a pro. It's always a lot of fun to watch you work, man. But seeing you kicking ass in your hometown, man, that was fun.
Hey, man, thank you. And right back at you. I, couldn't have thought of a better pivot that we made. That's a whole nother story, which I think we talked about on a different podcast. But, to be able to land in Nashville, for us to be here, for me to show up coming from home, for me, that was different. You're used to traveling an extra day early, and there's just a lot of things mentally and emotionally that you would do with the physical change of environment. So it was a different prep time. You and I talked about how do you prepare for events and speaking and different things. So it was slightly different for me. It was unique because I hadn't had that experience yet, at least not with Remarkable. So it was something unique and different for me. And I was very energized because I got to bring, my oldest son. He was able to come along and be there. And I brought kids in the past, but he was able to be there throughout the event and help me help our team. It was awesome to see that. Got so much praise for him, and just him and my nephew as well. They were both able to be there and just kind of
Johnny from Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. Be support. I said, hey, you guys can come in and be my support, and whatever I need or the team needs, just if you guys would make yourself available, that's going to make a huge difference. And it made a huge difference. So quick shout out to Noah and Johnny from Jersey that, they showed up and they represented our family well, and they served our family and our tribe well. And, I wish I kind of thought through this a little bit because I don't have my cowboy hat today for this episode, for those of you who watch this on YouTube, but I did get lots of great comments on the hat. They were like, dude, I was so happy you opened with that hat. Somebody said. I was like, that was an inspiration. I always pray before our events. We always pray and just ask God for, any direction and what we should do. And sometimes he drops images like, you should wear a cowboy hat. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it.
Whatever you do it in a cowboy hat.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was a great weekend. CMA was having a big festival. So it was just a rocking place to be, great town, but the venue was great and everybody got in and we had a great time. Man, I love our people that we get to work with. It's always great to see you in person as you're listening. And we are so grateful that we get to be together in person. We went through a season where we didn't get to be together in person. It was that season in all of our lives. It wasn't that long ago. And so I'm grateful always whenever this happens, we get together. And then just to be able to train, the breakouts were I was in mostly the DC breakout, which was our track B. And I'll tell you, it was incredible because it, to be in a room with, I don't know, 200 chiropractors / some tech CAs, new patient concierge roles, and just training and role playing on just the fundamentals of what it looks like to deliver your product, and recognizing the power of the product that we have, and the excellence with which we can deliver it, and the impact that it will have on a community at large. But it's always about the one person in front of you in that moment. I'll tell you, it never gets old. It does not get old. And it only increases in value, what I found over time. So always love watching you, sir. And you just delivered the goods as always. And just made sure that everybody was left there with a absolute full cup. And from the content to just the structure of the schedule, and just the way that it flowed all the way to the very last session, which was, I think, a highlight for almost everybody. So Dr. Steven, I know we're going to talk about the product of chiropractic. We're fired up about that right now. I think we always are, but in particular, coming off of the immersion, there's been some, like you said, the takeaways in your masterminds and these meetings, listening to the CEOs share what their takeaways were. And the same story for me, it has just been phenomenal. And so there's something that we're prepared to speak about today on this podcast, and I'm looking forward to digging in with you.
Yeah, I was inspired by, I've said this in the past, and I heard it again from somebody after this immersion, which is our remarkable conversion, retention, immersion. In other words, we're going over the process, right? The patient process, right? So when you're talking about conversion, we're talking about your day 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when we're talking about retention, it's week 1, 2, 3, 4, month 1, 2, 3, 4, year 1, 2, 3, 4, and beyond, right? So that's the framework for Friday is conversion, Saturday is retention. And we do it that way. I love doing them together. We used to do them separately because retention begins at conversion. And some people would show up to retention, that would be their first experience, and they had missed conversion. So there was a disconnect, right? And I'm like, no, man, we need to combine these two, even though it's a lift. We're going to combine them, and it's so much better, right? So it's amazing that it feels like doing them together is actually lighter. Yes, retention certainly feels lighter, and that only makes sense because if you do the conversion process properly, retention becomes more natural and almost automatic, right? So because retention begins at conversion. So for me, it's I really enjoy this particular seminar because it really is the seminar where I feel we can really show our heart behind the mission and the purpose around what we're doing. Like, so it's process, procedure, scripting, steps, metrics, all of that stuff that we love to talk about, right? But all of that is just packaging, right? So all of that is just a delivery system, right? So for the product, right? So, and it's something that we're so far on the other side of the fence, we forget there's a fence. Sometimes that's very often the most on purpose chiropractors kind of lose sight of the fact that, whoa, not everybody's on purpose. Not everybody's on mission, mainly because most people have no idea what you're talking about, right? So, and I'm talking about some people that work inside of chiropractic offices, right? So it just creates the environment where we can actually get to the heart and the root of what we do as chiropractors and the unique success proposition that we have for humanity, right? So which is our product, right? Starts with the principle. It starts with the paradigm, right? So the outside in versus inside out paradigm, right? So that's where it all begins. That's the umbrella that all of this lives underneath. And frankly, I think that that's just the most important thing we do. The most important thing we do is tell people that they can choose a perspective that will shape all of their decisions, which will drive their behaviors and produce their outcomes. I mean, what a gift that we have that opportunity, man. I'm so charged up right now, just even I'm transporting myself back to Nashville. And I'm like, do you guys get it? Like, if you miss this piece, everything else is just logistics and semantics. Like don't miss this piece, right? So the thing that I heard, the feedback was I had no idea this was such a principled organization. Right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what? But that was a tap on the shoulder. Okay, it was a kick in the ass. And I was just like, really? And they're like, oh yeah, you guys have this reputation, this awesome reputation in the profession of being like this hardcore business group, whatever. I'm like, well, we are a hardcore business group. I'm like, we're in the business of saving lives. That's as hardcore as it gets, right? Or at least the second most important message in town, right? So we are in the business of saving lives, and we behave like it. Like we act like it. Like we teach like it. We coach like it. We train like it. And at the end of the day, this is like this is the conference. This is the seminar. We actually get to demonstrate that, right? So I just really love that. And there was 4 sessions on Saturday. I got to have the 4th one. You opened us up. I got to close this down. And what did I choose to talk about? I chose to talk about our product, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make sure that never got lost in the noise, right? Because that's exactly what it becomes if you don't get the core, the heart of it, and the heart of the issue is the fact that we have something that is so unique. It's such a simple and elegant solution for exactly what humanity needs now, for its brokenness, right? So its toxicity, its deficiency, its dis-ease, right? So we have exactly what it's seeking for. It can't articulate it. It can't put its finger on it. They don't know how to Google for it yet, right? So, but we've got to be the champions of this message first, so that they understand. Once they understand the truth, then we can teach them about their nervous system. Then we can teach them about innate intelligence. Then we can teach them about subluxation, vertebral subluxation. Then we can teach them about the power of the chiropractic adjustment, right? And the outcomes that are possible for a human being, the health outcomes that are possible for a human being, that's your birthright. Like there is a pathway available to you for you and your family where you can actually have incredibly successful experiences and outcomes in your health. You just have to do things a bit differently, right? So Dr. Pete, having the opportunity to talk about this remarkable product, the chiropractic adjustment, man, what a privilege and an honor to be able to just drop that bomb on Friday night and really start that weekend off strong.
Well, I think one of the things that, to your point, is I think we lose our strength and we lose our motivation and our inspiration, and we lose the drive, you might say, all of the above, when we lose sight of the product. And what I saw was a reinvigoration, a recommitment to the process and the procedures, scripting, etc., because of the reclarification and being reminded of the power in the product, the power of your product, and that simple and elegant solution. And what that awareness, heightened awareness, did was reinfused in the team the value for the training and the process and the procedure, and no more skipping steps and no more, cutting corners, no more watering it down. None of those things. This is why it's important. And, we're at the midway point in the year. And so everybody's been working hard. Some people you get worn down, you get a little bit fatigued, and I think the timing was also right from a perspective of, hey, everybody's been slugging away, 6 months in. It's like, and so it came just at the right time as well. But that's also a reminder to all of you who are listening. If you're not plugged into an environment, a culture where you're getting dipped and you're getting reminded and you're getting inspired, directed, challenged in a good way in regards to this, and getting around other like-minded and working on your game and craft
100%
outside of the 4 walls of your office, that is a missing piece. And if that is you and you're listening right now, you're like, man, I haven't been dipped, I haven't been plugged in, I haven't been in that kind of environment in some time now, I will challenge you today, right now, in this moment, to look up the next event and book your ticket now and get to the event. Because, if you miss out on this opportunity, you're suffering, period. Number one. Number two, those who you've been entrusted to lead and serve are also suffering as a result of that. They're not getting the very best. And again, I'm not accusing anybody of this. I'm talking to myself and saying, I have to keep reinserting myself in this environment. We have to keep putting ourselves out there and going into this place so that all of us continue to do it and level up together. And right. The power of our product, the simple, elegant, as you said, solution that we provide for humanity, and the delivery system to deliver the product. It's a system. It's a formula. I kept talking about the ingredients that you put into the formula, and they go in a certain way, because if you don't put them in the right way, the dish does not turn out well, And so you've got to do it. There is a way, there is a better way. And that's what we are teaching and we are sharing with so many. And it was just awesome and is awesome to see that reignited inside of so many teams. There were, Doc, several team members who were in the room who had started their employment that very week. Like, yeah. Think about that. If you hired a CA, let's say you were in practice for decades and you brought in a new team member, and within 7 days of them starting, they spent 2 days in that immersive environment. It can't, you cannot do anything better than that. And right. We had multiple scenarios where that happened at the last conference. And then, Doc, this is so cool. On the exact flip side of the spectrum, docs who've been in it 30, 40 years, pulling me aside saying, man, I needed this. This is exactly what I needed. Exactly. It was so good. Right. And it's like, so whether you're brand new, you're not even a chiropractor, or you've been doing this and just in the trenches, serving, giving, loving for decades, man, it's just where we all needed to be. Everyone needed that reminder, Dr. Stephen. And as a CEO, we talk about your main objective on your scorecard is cast vision. And when you cast vision, that includes the power of your product. You have to continue to remind what is the cast that so it gets caught, recast it so it gets caught again. Goes a little bit deeper. The power of the product, man, such a powerful message.
So the point that you made there with the audience of just the continuum of the brand new person who got hired this week sitting in front of you're looking out onto an ocean of people, right? So there's 600 people looking up at you being like, all right, at any given point in time, there's somebody who just got hired that week, on the far left-hand side of the spectrum. And then on the other end of the spectrum, somebody's been in it for 25, 35, 45, 50 years, right? So, and then everyone in between, right? So, and to be able to recognize that 20% of the people are going to fall on that side of the car, 20% of people, and then the 60% in the middle, and to be able to have to deliver a compelling talk that is going to move them, right? So when you know that's this man, you know what I'm talking about, that can very often be challenging, especially when you're teaching process, procedure, metrics, like some of the more mechanical things that we have to, or we get to teach, right? So not this one. This one is singing chiropractic's greatest hits, right? And everybody, it is throwing that fastball down the middle, right? Just a strike down the middle, right? The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Doesn't matter whether it's the first time you've heard this or the 15,000th time you've heard this. It's a strike down the middle, and that's exactly what everybody needed. So, to be able to share, some of the concepts, the takeaways that I heard fed back to me, like the things that people repeat back to you. That's when you know that it was transformative, not just informative. Was, oh, my team came back and they're like, oh, that thing that that I learned this weekend was the chiropractic adjustment is the Heimlich maneuver for the nervous system. And that one landed right. It was like, that's the product, right? So when we talk about the heart, head, hands, and feet approach to everything we do, the heart is the why. Like, why are we doing what we're doing? You got to get everybody's heart engaged first before you get their head engaged, right? Which is the how. So I want you to be able to see, or the what, like I want you to see it. I want you to get your head around it. And then it's the hands, which is the how. Let me show you how to do it. And then the feet, it's like, okay, let's do it together. Let's role play and let's run, right? So this whole framework just is so perfect for delivering, the story of chiropractic and making sure that people understand the bigness of what we're doing, and laying down, this process. I use the metaphor of a blocked blood flow is an infarct, right? It's infarcation, right? So, and the solution is chest compressions and CPR. And I told that story of, having the opportunity to save that woman on that airplane with CPR, right? So it's a very primal thing. If you've ever seen somebody getting CPR, getting chest compressions when they're unresponsive, it's no joke, right? So, and there's a few things that you would see if you had no reference, if you had no idea what was going on, you'd be like, man, that seems kind of brutal. That's really manual, super low tech, right? Where the double blind says, whoa, she's back, she's alive, right? And that simple but effective manual solution, low tech, high touch, and really effective, is a perfect metaphor for removing the interference to the flow, right? In that situation, the flow of life, right? So in blood flow, blockage, of course, is infarction, right? So then it was talking about my son choking on that rock, and it was the block of airflow, and I picked him up and gave him a Heimlich maneuver and cleared the airway and just removed the interference to the flow of the air that would keep him alive. And the body just got back to doing what it does best, which is heal and be healthy. And that Heimlich maneuver, if you had no reference for it, if you had no idea what you were looking at, like, why is he doing that to that child? And it looks, so, physical and dangerous. And, where are the double-blind studies? Or, like I said, is like, is that all? Is that all you're going to do for him? Yep. That's all it takes. Clear the airway. Like, is that all you're going to do? Said no one ever after an effective Heimlich maneuver, right? So, or what's the CPT code for a Heimlich maneuver? What do you charge for that, right? That was the whole lesson around that with giving, loving, and serving. So blocked airflow is suffocation. Well, blocked nerve flow is subluxation, right? And the solution is as manual, and it is as simple, and it is as low tech, high touch, and effective as CPR chest compressions or the Heimlich maneuver, clearing that airway. Just remove that interference to the flow of the nerve impulse, the information, the innate intelligence, and let the body do what it does best, Dr. Pete, heal and get back to health.
And I'll tell you, Doc, even this listening to you describe that again, and if you were at the conference, Doc unpacked the stories, and there was some comedy as well as some sitting on the edge of your seat kind of moments as you were sharing some of those stories. And one of the things I really loved about both the stories that you told was, in both those scenarios, you were doing something else. Like, one of them, you were flying, you were just trying to get home. You spent a long weekend, you've been pouring out. The other one was you're trying to have a meeting with somebody and talk about something at the house. And in both those scenarios, you got tapped, you got invited to you had to step into a situation. And I know you didn't really speak to that component of it, but that speaks to me of this concept that we have as our theme for the year, which is readiness, which is, are you ready to step in and do CPR? Are you ready to step in and do this Heimlich maneuver? And are you ready to step in and deliver a principled chiropractic adjustment with education, right? That to me was, as you told the stories, as moved as I was with the stories, I was also moved by me and us and saying, would you have been the guy that raised your hand and said, I can help? Are you the person that's going to step in there and say, put me in, coach, put me in, send me out there where I can go and do CPR, or I'll deliver that Heimlich. And I hope all of us who are listening will be like, yeah, I'd do it in a split second. You don't have to ask twice, kind of thing. But, I think you also challenged us that, if you've been not in that state of willingness and readiness, because I talked about the definition of readiness, and one of the components of the 3 components is willingness, and your willingness to actually take action. And that's part of being ready, willingness. And that was a big part of this too. Like, we have to be willing to do the product is powerful, whether you deliver it or not. It's going to be powerful regardless. The question is, are we willing to do it, to share that message, to repeatedly repeat that message over and over again, and continually deliver it and deliver with excellence, and look for ways to deliver with even greater measures of excellence. And so that was a takeaway, Dr. Stephen, I hadn't shared that with you yet, but those few stories really hit me more like as a man listening and thinking, wow, those are amazing stories. But like, how would I respond, and how does this translate into my life, right? As a father, as a husband, as a chiropractor, as a coach, as a human, like, how do you apply? Well, it's about being ready to serve, ready to give. That was one of our themes, right? Give, love, and serve, right? That's what we do. The adjustment is priceless, right? People are paying you a tuition for the education that's continuous. It's continuing education, and we continue to supply people with that ongoing education so they stay on that straight and narrow path that leads to the most abundant life. And so, Dr. Stephen, I'll tell you, it's absolute gold. And I just encourage all of us who are, even listening here today, like, how do you take something like this and bring that back to your team, to your docs, to your community, your patient base, because they need to know. And people are literally dying without it.
That's right. Yeah. So, that product piece, the heart behind the why are we doing what we're doing, don't miss that, right? So this is, again, the hard easy, right? So if you do the hard part, and that's the lift of challenging and shaping belief systems, and that's going to take intention. It's going to be deliberate. You're not going to just kind of stumble into it or back into it. They're not going to eventually arrive at it, right? So you've just got to, you've got to just recognize the value of making sure that you create the space and time to address people's paradigm and their belief system. And if you tell people the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth resonates, right? So, and when people are available and they've exhausted everything that they've tried and all of the experts that they know, and they still haven't got the outcomes that they want, and all of a sudden they find you, and you show up with a new perspective and a new methodology and a new approach and new tools, right? And they're available to receive that. That's where people have a cathartic moment. That's where people have their breakthrough, right? So that's the anatomy of an epiphany, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is, CEOs, okay? So are you slowing down to speed up? Are you doing the hard easy? Making sure that you're addressing people's belief system first and foremost. And when you do, and when they hear the truth and you shift and change that belief system and their paradigm shifts, then they're going to want to know everything about chiropractic. They're going to want to know everything about your product. They're going to want to know everything about how can they get the most out of chiropractic care. And they're going to want everyone in their family, all their friends. They're going to tell everybody that they know. And it's going to be amazing. Not only is it going to be easier for you to take care of that patient, but it's going to be so much easier for you to take care of that patient's family and all of their friends and coworkers, everybody else. Dr. Pete, both you and I lived this, right? It's the hard easy. It's make that investment on the front end, change their belief system, introduce this simple and elegant solution, this remarkable product that we have in the chiropractic adjustment, and watch how that relationship just continues to get easier and easier over time.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner, dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy.
What's up, team? So I'm super excited to be having this conversation with the amazing Dr. Andrew from Balance Orthotics, because this is it's a product that I heard about a year ago. And I was like, okay, first thing I got to do is I got to introduce it on myself. And I've had amazing experience with these orthotics and the impact that it's made on my personal body, my spine, my pelvic alignment, my leg alignment, right? So Dr. Andrew, why don't you take us through a little bit, man? Balance Orthotics, what are they? Why are they unique? And then I guess, why should I bring them, or why should I consider bringing them into my office? What kind of outcomes are they going to help me produce inside of my office as a CEO?
Awesome, mate. Thanks for having me. So let's jump in. So Balance Orthotics are a really unique type of orthotic. And what's unique about them is that they're not based on support, which is what basically every other orthotic does. They're just an arch support. So our orthotics are unique because they're based purely on proprioception. There's no support. They're simply designed to stimulate the muscles in the feet, which of course stimulates the neurology and sends different messages to the brain. Right? We evolved for millions of years walking barefoot on the earth. Just think about how much input was going through the feet to the brain every minute of someone's life versus what all of our patients get, or even ourselves, right? We wear shoes, we walk on flat surfaces. So the way I explain it to my patients, if you had back pain every day and you wore a back brace, you might have less back pain. But over time, is your back getting weaker or stronger? And we know over time it's getting weaker because you're relying on the brace to do the job for you. And the reality is that's what's happening with pretty much any orthotic that you wear that's designed to provide support, or any kind of supportive shoe for that matter. So this is a completely different concept. And I first implemented it in my practice about 10 years ago. They're actually designed by a medical doctor to treat scoliosis, which they do amazingly well. But over that time, we slowly found more and more applications for them, to the point now where I think this is critical for every single patient. And, we can talk about why that is, but we've now got it as just part of our system. It's part of our initial consult. It's part of our reported findings. It's part of our care plan. What they do is they allow patients to get better results. They really do get better results faster, right? It makes a huge difference. So we see changes in posture, we see changes in the vestibular system, we see changes in gait, we see changes in balance, all sorts of stuff across the board. So it really allows patients to hold their chiropractic adjustments better. It means they're getting more bang for their buck from every single adjustment that you do.
I heard you say there, so you get changes in proprioception, amazing. We obviously appreciate those chiropractors and chiropractic teams. We get changes also in structure. I mean, I can attest to that. The changes that I saw in like my pelvis, my pelvic alignment, my leg length difference, right, has been massive. And I've been wearing them now for about 10 months. Talk to me a little bit. So you said that, yes, they can also help and support in scoliosis-based processes. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's what they were originally created for. The medical doctor who created them had a daughter with very severe scoliosis. She'd had a failed Harrington rod surgery. So, and they do work for that. They really do. We've seen lots of, we have before and after x-rays and all that kind of stuff. So they're the first go-to thing I do with every scoliosis case. But over time, we've started to realize that, you know, I heard an analogy about chiropractic, and it's true for these too. It said using chiropractic just for back pain is like just using your iPhone only for the calculator. And it's kind of true for these two, right? If you're only using them for scoliosis, you're kind of missing a massive benefit to basically all of your practice members, let alone your business.
Got it. I love it. So tell me this then. As a CEO, I own a business and I'm looking at, okay, two things that interest me. I'm looking for better results, and then of course I'm looking for better profitability. If we talk about better results for a second, I heard you say there that in your office, you prescribe this for everyone. Talk to me a little bit about, okay, when you say better results, is this something that every single person can benefit from? Like, are you talking like, you know, teenagers, adults, elderly, like everyone can benefit from using this? And then as a result of that, do you build that into your care plans? Do you build that into like your process? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as much as it took me a while to really get my head around this, but I think everybody can benefit from it. And the reason I came to understand that is the problem is wearing shoes and walking on flat surfaces. And the reality is we just all do it. So in terms of my older patients, it was such a penny drop moment for me. I had a lady who came in with a walking stick and she said, I hate using this, but I don't feel safe without it. I've had 4 major falls. So we put these on her feet. She came back about 2 weeks later and said, she was just beaming like a different person, right? She goes, I've thrown my walking stick away. I just feel so much more stable and secure on my feet, which makes sense because the brain's getting better feedback from the ground. At the other end of the spectrum, I've had kids. I think the youngest kid I've ever fit with these was 4 years old. We had a really great result once with my son's best little buddy at Little Athletics. He was the best guy, like top of the Little Athletics team, right? Best at everything. Had to stop, couldn't run, severe shin splints. He put these on and within 1 week, he was back PBs across, like personal bests across everything. So it really has expanded over time. I've realized that it really does help basically every patient. So by putting it right up front, I used to do it later in my care plan, but I realized, well, if a patient is undoing their adjustment every time they walk off my table, why would I wait? So now we assess it on the initial visit. And if it's appropriate, which it is for, you know, I've got to say like 95+% of people, we report on it as part of our report of findings and just explain these are going to help you hold your adjustment better. They're going to improve your posture. There's all these other benefits. And so the majority of our patients, and again, we don't, there's no pressure around that, but the majority of our patients choose to take them up right away because we have a process where they stand on them and they actually feel it immediately. So there's no kind of sales pitch. It's like, you don't have to convince people when they feel it in their own body. So it becomes part of our initial care plan. Like I said, it just allows them to get more out of every adjustment.
Gotcha. And so I love a system. And I think that, you know, this is an area that you have genius in, particularly in this domain. So tell me, okay, I'm someone who's thinking about introducing to my practice. I understand the benefit. I get it. I'm on the same page. How would that work from a systems point of view? Does that mean you do your day one initial consultation? Do you have some element of like a gait or a foot assessment on day one? And then on day two, when you're giving recommendations and building out a care plan, do you then present the orthotic in the care plan at that point and add that at the cumulative total at the bottom that someone is due? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what we do. So in our initial assessment on that day one, I'm doing a whole bunch of, you know, my postural screenings, my muscle testing, all this kind of orthopedic, all the neuro, the usual stuff we do. As part of that, I assess their feet. It takes me about 30 seconds. And we actually do a test where we stand them on the orthotics and see if that changes how their muscles activate. So they get that immediate felt sense of it. So when it comes to our day two, oftentimes the thing they first want to hear about, they're like, tell me about that thing. They're kind of blown away by the testing. So exactly like you said, it becomes part of the care plan. Like, this is what's going to allow you to get the most out of every adjustment. This is what it costs. They're covered by health funds. Just it's part of the scripting. It's part of the system. And most people, if you're going to invest in a care plan, why would you not invest a little extra to really maximize your benefits from it?
Yeah, gotcha. All right, cool. That makes a lot of sense. I love it. And then I guess that leads perfectly into, talk to us about, so the second part of what I always concern myself as a CEO, better revenue, better profit. The thing that comes to my mind immediately is that this immediately is another revenue stream inside of our business. It's something that's going to get better results for people. And it's something that increases the dollar value for every single person that comes inside of the office as a practice or as a practice member or a patient. Talk to us a little bit about, like, what kind of figures are we looking at? How does this work? How does it kind of increase our bottom line, our profitability? What have you noticed?
Yeah, so I mean, it's been huge in my clinic and huge in the clinics who implement this. So, we say doctors can expect to make an extra $1,000 to $4,000 a week, but obviously it just depends on the size of your clinic, and some make more, some make less. But the bottom line is that most chiropractic practices, when we look at it, may be making a lot of money in terms of turnover, but don't always make the profit that they really deserve. Right? As a bricks and mortar business, for every adjustment you do, you've got to take out your rent, you've got to take out your all the other million costs. I won't go through them, but the profit margin at the end of the day can sometimes be a little skinnier than it should. So implementing something like this, which is a total win for your patients, they love it, but it really boosts not just your overall revenue, but your profit. So we wholesale the orthotics to you as a doctor for $175. You retail them to your patient for $375. So that's a $200 profit margin on every pair of orthotics. So if you multiply that by the number of new patients that you've got coming through your clinic, that really adds up really fast, right? And it's not just top line revenue, it's bottom line, it's actual profit. And so that can make a huge difference. Either you can add more profit to your clinic, you can put it back into your marketing. It really frees up a lot of that kind of lead acquisition cost for our new patients.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, $200 profit, that's profit every single person. So even if we're doing, let's just say 15 new patients a week, and let's say of those 10 decide to go through the protocol, right? That's immediately a $2,000 profit. And then I'm assuming you probably also got some recurring revenue that after a period of time, people's orthotics wear out, they start to, okay, hey, I need a new pair again. Are you noticing a lot of that happening now too?
Yeah, so there's two big streams of that. One is really referrals. We notice they generate a ton of referrals because a lot of people go, oh, these are amazing. I've got to get them on my kids, my partner, my whatever. And of course, those people come in to get assessed for orthotics, but they end up taking up chiropractic care as well. So referrals is one, but absolutely, people love them. And if they're like me, they don't like changing things back and forth between their shoes. So we do have a system at 12 months. We send them a letter and say, hey, your health fund's rolled over. Every year they give you a new allowance for orthotics. How about we update your orthotics? So at that point, a lot of people are like, great, I'll get a second pair for my second pair of shoes. In fact, we've got patients who just get a new pair every year. So it does become absolutely just a really easy recurring stream of revenue.
Gotcha. Amazing. I love it. So again, I'm sold. I can see it, better results. I can put at least an extra $100,000 on my bottom line profit, if not more. What's my next step? What do I have to do? If I'm someone that's interested in that, how do I get in contact with you? How should we connect with you?
So our website's betterbalanceorthotics.com. You can kind of check out all the info there. What I've put together for TRP members is if you go to betterbalance.com/remarkable, it'll give you a link for a free discovery call to my calendar. So you can book in, we can jump on Zoom for 15 minutes. We'll run through, I'll answer any questions that you've got. I can talk you through any part of the process. And what I really like to do is actually start with docs getting them on their own feet, because as you've experienced yourself, it's like people are blown away by that. And once you feel it yourself, then you're able to go with integrity to your clients. So I encourage people, bring a tape measure to that call. And if it all sounds good to you, we'll actually measure up your foot. We'll fit you with your personal pair on that call. And we'll get you set up with your training and you're away and running.
Cool. I love it. So there you hear it, folks. Not only is it an amazing product, the onboarding process and giving you clarity about the action steps. So how do you make this a success in your practice comes with it too. So you heard it there, guys. We're going to leave in the show detail links for the websites that Andrew's mentioned. So you can literally click on them, get in that call, and he'll take you through exactly how do we take this into our practice and make it a successful avenue and make it something that we're going to get better outcomes for our clients and better outcomes for our practice. Dr. Andrew, thanks so much for your time, brother. I appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.